Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this edition of my YouTube channel entitled Just Thinking, where I share thoughts, ideas, and things that I've learned over the last week or so, specifically related to college and high school athletes, and more specifically related to the NIL era in personal branding and self-development. At the Players NIL, we profess that NIL should not be a 4-year thing, but a 40-year thing. And with that as the mindset, we need to develop a life skills program that celebrates athletes as celebrities. Never before have we seen athletes celebrated so high. I just posted the other day that there were 23.5 billion minutes of social content created around the Paris 2024 Olympics. That's more than the last two Olympics combined. Social media is the new modern communication system. Athletes have never been celebrated at a higher level. Therefore, athletes understanding and taking advantage of the social media world are going to create opportunities. Some of it may be financial, but most of it will be skill development, connections, relationships, jobs, interns, networking that will pave the way for their future opportunities. This week, I also wrote about the University of Wyoming and their athletic director, who wrote a letter to their alumni and fans and all stakeholders. And when you think of Wyoming, you think of it as a school that's rather remote. Although there may be a lot of students, it's not the national athletic brand that some other schools may be, yet competitive and certainly in national prominence in a lot of sports. And he wrote this letter to put everyone on notice that the changes that are coming with the House versus NCAA settlement agreement are going to happen one way or the other. Now, the exact details are yet to be defined. Next April, we'll get a little bit clearer view on what that looks like. But there seems to be some basic tenets that are going to be part of it. Number one, most importantly, is athletes are going to be part of revenue sharing. Whether they end up being employees or not is still yet to be determined. And there are some benefits and distractions to both of those scenarios. But for sure, revenue sharing is going to occur. And I understand it that it's going to occur next fall, in the fall of 25, whether the settlement agreement is ratified or not. So revenue sharing is here. Where's that money going to come from? How are schools like Wyoming going to compete with some of the Power 4 schools with huge budgets? And how are they going to compete not only for facilities, not only for support staff and coaches, but with NIL money? The NIL era has brought upon two things that have collided: the collective model colliding with pay for play and the transfer portal. And that means we have free agency. That means we have 1-year contracts with, at this point, no salary cap. Although the salary cap is part of the settlement agreement, it's essentially beyond a school like Wyoming's reach. They're never going to reach the $20 million revenue sharing model that some of the bigger schools will do. And so they're going to need support, financial support. And they can't go back to the same donors because we're already seeing donor fatigue. They also are cannibalizing their own donors. Someone that donated to the library or the science lab or to some academic cause now is being asked to move that donation to the athletic department. Well, you can imagine the arguments behind closed doors on campus. But they're going to need fundraising, collective support. The burden of this new era is large. There are going to be challenges. There are going to be people that do not succeed well in this space. But like any emerging market, whoever can see past that, whoever can overcome those barriers is going to create opportunities. So we need to change the message from being a burden to being an opportunity. What is that opportunity? To engage all the stakeholders, local businesses, national businesses, alumni, season ticket holders, local fans. How do we get them to be part of it? Well, I think the University of Wyoming did an amazing job because they just laid all that out in a letter. So now they have transparency. And that is the most important part of building a fan base, creating a donor model that can sustain whatever level works for the University of Wyoming. but it's going to be more than it has been. So they're going to need more buy-in. And I think by putting this letter out almost a year in advance, they put people on notice. This is the new reality. This is how we're going to approach it. These are the expectations. These are going to be the deliverables. This is what we're going to do, and this is how we're going to do it. And I think that that is a model that needs to take place versus administrators who, number one, may have their head in the sand and don't believe that it's going to affect them, or number two, are working in clandestine matters behind closed doors with no transparency. And then boom, they're going to drop a big request on their donors and fan base to help support this, or they're going to be behind the eight ball and not be able to compete until they catch up. So I think that this is going to be the model going forward for athletic administrators: full transparency, a sharing of the challenges, a measured response with expectations being clearly defined, and then the execution of that. Of course, all along this comes, great life skills, great life value, and experience for students and athletes on campus that will enrich them to be part of this new ecosystem going forward. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening to this edition of Just Thinking. And as always, have a great day and be awesome.